She was born in the red dirt of Pike County, Alabama, on a summer day in 1941, August the 13th. And the name on her birth certificate was not the name the world would come to know her by. The name on that certificate was Lycrecia Ann Guy. Her mother was a striking, ambitious young woman named Audrey. Her father was a man named Erskine Guy, a man who went off to work one day and simply did not come back. So little Lycrecia grew up not knowing her daddy. By some accounts, she never laid eyes on him at all. She was raised for a time by her grandparents on a farm near Banks, Alabama, while her mother went looking for something bigger than Pike County had to offer. And what her mother found was a tall, gaunt, sad-eyed young singer with a guitar and a voice that could make a grown man cry. You know his name. It was the summer of 1943 when Audrey met him. A traveling medicine show. A scrawny Alabama boy who sang like the lonesome itself had taught him. By December of 1944, just 10 days after Audrey's divorce was final, the two of them were married at a filling station in Andalusia, Alabama, a Texaco station. A justice of the peace who pumped gas on the side said the words. And just like that, a little girl with no father in the picture suddenly had a stepfather. His name was Hiram King Williams, but the whole world would come to call him Hank. Now here is the part the history books tend to skip right over. Because when we tell the story of Hank Williams, we tell it in sorrow. We tell it in whiskey and heartache and a powder blue Cadillac on a cold New Year's morning. We forget that for a few short years, Hank Williams was somebody's daddy. Not by blood, by choice. When Hank married Audrey, that little girl came as part of the bargain. And Hank did not treat her like baggage. He treated her like his own. He moved his new family into a little rented house on Washington Avenue in Montgomery. And for the first time in his hard, rootless life, Hank Williams had a home, a wife, and a child looking up at him. Friends who were there said he tried. Lord, how he tried. He tried not to drink around her. He tried to be the father to her that life had never quite trained him to be. When he was sober, neighbors said, you'd have thought you were looking at the happiest little family in Alabama. She called him Daddy, and he wanted to make it official. Hank Williams went to Audrey with a request. He wanted to adopt Lycrecia. He wanted to give that little girl his name, legally, permanently, in the eyes of the law and the Lord. He wanted her to be his daughter on paper, the same way she already was in his heart. And Audrey said no. Not because she doubted his love, but because she was afraid. You see, Audrey could feel the cracks already forming in that marriage, and she feared that if the day ever came when she and Hank parted ways, a man who had legally adopted that child could take her away. So she refused, and the adoption never happened. Hank Williams went to his grave, having never legally been the father of the little girl who called him Daddy. He died on the first day of 1953, in the back seat of that Cadillac. 29 years old. Lycrecia was 11 years old when she lost the only father she had ever known. And here is the quiet little miracle in all of it. She kept his name anyway. Lycrecia Ann Guy went through the rest of her life as Lycrecia Williams. Not because a court said she could, not because any document gave her permission, but because in every way that ever mattered to a child, Hank Williams was her father, and she was his. She grew up in the long shadow of that name. She watched her mother, Audrey, chase the spotlight and battle the same demons, the bottle, the pills that had taken Hank. She watched her little half-brother, born in 1949, grow up to carry the family torch. You know him too. Hank Williams, Jr., and through all the books, all the movies, all the legends and the half-truths told about her family by strangers who were never in the room, Lycrecia decided that somebody ought to tell the truth. So, in 1989, she did. She sat down and wrote a book. She called it Still in Love with You, the story of Hank and Audrey Williams. And in those pages, she did something almost nobody else had ever done. She defended her mother. She told the world that Audrey was not the villain the legend made her out to be, that there had been love in that house, and horses, and birthday songs, and good days, and a daddy who tucked her in. She didn't hide the ugly parts, but she didn't let the world forget the good ones either. And the years rolled on. Decades passed. The honky-tonk angels and the drifting cowboys faded one by one into memory. And then, in the autumn of 2023, the Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville threw a birthday party. Hank Williams would have been 100 years old. The stars came out. They sang his songs. His grandchildren took the stage. And sitting right there in that hall, an honored guest among the family of country music's first great legend, was an elderly woman. Born Lycrecia Ann Guy, the little girl from Pike County, Alabama, whose own father walked away and never came back. The little girl, a dying troubadour, once tried so hard to claim as his own. The girl who was never legally adopted and who carried his name with pride for 80 years anyway. She outlived the heartache. She outlived the legend. She kept the faith with a man who only got to be her daddy for a handful of precious years. Hank Williams never did get to sign those adoption papers, but he didn't need to, because some bonds the law can't grant and the grave can't break.